traditions, empowering communities, and transforming the way people think about heritage, sustainable tourism, and the future of cultural identity. Mayor Pilatwe, welcome to the Daybreak.
Thank you very much.
Most definitely. Right. We have spoken about modernization and globalization and how it's affecting cultural heritage, really on a global scale and on a local stage here in Botswana. Let's talk about how the culture has been affected by these. And I think also it also leads us to why we then developed this idea of cultural villages.
Yes, globalization has definitely affected cultural villages and traditions in general. What we tend to find that the agency is real. There is a disconnect between traditional cultures and modern tourism. We found that tourism is almost just a backdrop, and what we want to introduce is cultural villages to host tourists, and we want the cultural communities to be at the forefront of tourism. And in that way, that's how we maintain our indigenous languages, our crafts, our storytelling, which are actually getting extinct.
And actually, when we speak of cultural villages, if you can give us a good context or a good picture of what it really looks like and why really going the cultural villages way, what is in it that can actually help us to preserve our culture?
Our culture is our tradition. This is young people have to have some sort of identity, and this comes from having a culture. It includes our local language, our traditional foods. This includes our storytelling, and this is what cultural villages are: embracing who we are as Africans, embracing who we are as Botswana, and just generally celebrating who we are. And unfortunately, what's happening at the moment is that local languages are getting extinct. Like I said before, it's because of modernization and globalization. But at culturalvillages.com, we have established a booking platform whereby we are asking people to sign up their rural homes and host tourists. So we are saying to them they must come and not just consume but engage. So the cultural community is their host. So they are sort of coming into their home, to learn about their tradition.
Right. Let's also speak right there about the gaps that we have identified over time from globalization and modernization. And we, of course, speak of how they have the pros and cons. But, of course, there is some gap that is being established there as we keep on being civilized. So what are these? What is the current situation right now, locally and globally? What are these gaps that we are seeing? And we say this is not what we want to be left behind or to be forgotten and just be in the books of history. We want to carry it forward.
Okay. So what we are seeing at the moment is that traditional tourism, it tends to to sort of put the traditional culture as a backdrop. We are not really finding that the community is benefiting much from the traditional tourism. Statistics show that when cultural villages are put at the forefront, tourists tend to stay longer and they tend to spend more in those villages. So the gaps that you're asking about are there is just generally this sort of disconnect. It's a real disconnect. So we need to really work with the Botswana tourism in order to put some type of a link with cultural villages at the moment. So we are trying to fill that gap. We are trying to introduce anybody with a cultural village, anybody who wants to start this initiative, they can get in touch with us. Am I privileged to let them know the website?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we'll do that at the very end. For now, let's go on and talk about colonization. Right, it is part of many Africans' history. Now, in decolonizing tourism, what really are the measures that we want to bring on board? Because sometimes you find that what cultures adopted in colonization periods has then evolved to become part of culture in that aspect. So what are we doing using these cultural villages to make sure that we are recentering indigenous knowledge, indigenous narratives, and they become part of our tourism and part of the story of really the indigenous culture of a certain people?
So what we need is support. We need a budget if it is supporting cultural subjects, education, just especially for young people. That would help with decolonizing. Our grandparents, they are a very good source. We need to engage with our grandparents. We need to ask them, what is our tradition? How did they live before? We need to keep that connection going on. We have oral storytelling that used to happen in the past. Unfortunately, it's not happening so much, but we need to rekindle that sort of activity in our in our villages. Decolonizing is very difficult because, like you've said, so much of us, we have not really had access to a village at all. And so we need to visit our roots. We need to sort of engage with where we come from, who we are. We found that school children who have participated in visiting cultural villages, they've become more proud to have an identity. These kids have been proud to know where they come from. So I would urge even schools, it actually starts with schools, to visit cultural villages, local, teach the school children what is their culture all about.
Right. Now, whilst we do so, and I heard you calling on different cultural villages to come on board. So what initiatives do we have in place to make sure that we commodify our culture? In as much as you were talking about how we wanted to really be prominent in our tourism, when we bring tourists into our country, we want them to really feel, the real taste of the real culture, the roots of the culture. So how are we going to be commodifying it in such a way that it is still attractive to tourists?
Okay, so currently globally we found that tourists they want to experience tradition. There's a new wave of travelers who want to visit Africa and not stay in a five-star hotel. They want to be in the village. They want to experience how you milk the cows. They want to experience what it feels like to sleep in a hut. So in terms of modernizing, at culturalvillages.com, we have a standard. When you sign up or register your rural home, we have a standard of basics that we expect. For example, clean running water. We expect that the guests is given a double bedroom, and even if it's in a hut. So we're not saying completely change everything to be modern. We're just asking for health and safety items to be there. But otherwise, we want the tradition left as it is. So we don't really want to change how we do things, because that's exactly what a tourist from Germany, from New Zealand, that's what they want to experience. So we found that actually sells more. It sells more because when a European comes to Africa, they want to be in the African soil. They want to be barefoot. They want to do your chores. If it's teaching them how to braid hair, if it's teaching them how to thatch a roof, those are the sort of activities. Riding on a donkey cart, that's what they really want to experience. So we would want you to offer them an unforgettable experience of Africa. And that's what us Africans, we are very good at.
Right. Now, from what you're saying, it sounds like a lot of our villages have what you're speaking about. So let's speak about the criteria, really. What are those things that you're going to be putting into consideration to say, now, this is a cultural village that we can have in our own, in our own list to be those that we can lead our tourists to, take our tourists to? What really are those that you have in place that you can say, we're going to be vetting using this? This is how we're going to be checking if this is the right place.
So today we are actually going to be at the Made in Botswana Expo in Cloqueng. If anybody wants to come to our stand to get more information. But in terms of the vetting list, we sort of ask you to register, just like any travel booking website. We have to upload high quality photos of your place. Don't worry if it's a hut, if it's, that's actually, we want it authentic as it can be. You can also put up activities that you're willing to offer the guests when they come. So, these activities, they range, those who have fishing in their villages, they can offer those activities and they can charge for them. So when you host somebody, you are actually paid to host somebody. So we are bringing wealth into the community. And we found that we are actually creating jobs. So we are having cooks in the village, artisans are making money because tourists are now heading to a village. So I urge a lot of us to sign up our villages, our rural homes. You might think it's not attractive enough, but that's the African experience that somebody wants to encounter. So we do ask as the vetting list that you sign up, you put up the pictures, high quality pictures, just to maintain our brand, and you are then approved or disapproved to make changes. Then afterwards, everything is all secured. Tourists would go onto your website, or travelers, they find maybe you are in the right area, they book, they pay, they sleep, they're able to also write a review, how they found the place, and then immediately you would get paid by culturalvillages.com for the person who has stayed at your place. So we do sort of also, we will be touring cultural villages. We do inspections as well, just to make sure that the standards are high. So we will be touring and offering people a badge, so that our travelers know that, they are rest assured that this is a safe environment, this is a suitable environment for them to stay.
That was actually going to be my next question on the safety of the travelers. So thank you so much for touching on that. So now let's speak about the sustainability part of things. What is it that we're going to be doing? What strategies do we have in place to make sure that there's sustainability, there's integrity as well maintained over time, that even after years, these cultural villages will still bring on, economic profits, will still bring on cultural profits as well? What are those strategies that we have in place?
So because it's cultural tradition, these villages are existing anyway. It's not like we're building new buildings, or so it means they will always be preserved. There is that sustainability. We don't expect anybody to go out of their budget to build any sort of new infrastructure. Those mud huts, those traditional way of doing things, that is absolutely what we expect. In terms of long term, we'll be looking to do cultural exchanges We will be looking to also interact, especially amongst other African countries. So this initiative is not just in Botswana. We're also going to be looking at setting up these villages, these cultural villages in Kenya, in Ghana, in Ethiopia, and then having some type of cultural exchanges whereby we sort of visit each other. We want to promote Africans to travel amongst Africans to learn more about each other's cultures. So when these villages are available, when it's very simple to go online and book a village in Kasane, it will be very easy for a Kenyan to do that and experience that, oh, this is how Botswana live, and vice versa. So, so it will definitely be sustainable, because it will be something that we are sort of creating unity and integration amongst ourselves as Africans, and also even as amongst the world as a global village.
So in just closing out our conversation, right, let's talk about what you have seen so far. For as long as you have started with cultural villages, what are those impacts or testimonials that you have to say this is what cultural villages have done in terms of preserving culture, in terms of promoting our own culture? What are those that you have seen by far?
So I would say on our social media, it has absolutely taken off by storm. The amount of interest that Botswana have shown to cultural villages, we are on all social medias. People have been emailing saying we want to sign up. So I've seen some type of interest is also because it's creating employment. I guess people have seen that there's a lot of rooms back in the village that are just sitting idle, and this could be an income. But yeah, so definitely with this initiative of cultural villages, I've seen interaction. Right. I follow a couple that have cycled across Africa, and what they've said is that most of Africa is really the same. It really looks the same. So sometimes it's just because people tend to fear what they don't know. So we are building that bridge to us to reach out to each other and to sort of just connect with each other. So I've definitely seen that cultural villages is the future. We need to look back to our roots. We need to not be modernized or try to take on the culture of the Western world. At the end of the day, we need to embrace who we are as Africans. We need to love, our skin the way it is, and not aspire to be somebody that we are not. So with cultural villages, we are expecting that we will sort of achieve that true African, that love, that Ubuntu that we're supposed to have.
And could we say also the younger generation, are they coming in terms of preserving culture in this particular manner? Are we seeing them, enthusiastic in also learning who we really are, where we come from, and actually having a hand in preserving the culture?
So, in the education system, there isn't really much which is happening, and I would really urge education departments, any teachers, to really start thinking about showing the children their villages and who they are. There is a disconnect. The urgency is real. We need to do something about it. Young people tend to see the village as something that is not of interest at the moment. We are finding that in general, young people want to be on their tablets, on their iPhones, and they're not really interested. So there is a lot of work to be done. Right. There is so much work to be done in terms of getting them on board to you know, to think that culture is not a bad thing, and to relate with culture, to embrace culture. I would say there is a lot of work to be done.
Right. Well, thank you so much. I think you are already doing a lot in that line to make sure that we do preserve our culture in Africa. But thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
Right. That was Pilatwe. Of course, we're talking culture preservation here in Botswana, in Africa, what we're doing, and we're using cultural villages in this instance. Motweso, chawe sena mong e sena ngwao ke mong kana e lathegileng a re gakologele mahoko ao. So la weekend sa rona.
The fact that our BHRDS theme this year was celebrating a very important area of study, the technical, vocational education and training sector, which in many ways has been perhaps under